We are live. Welcome to the Sunday, November 12th edition of the PFF Forecast. We will do a eulogy for the New England Patriots. We will talk about the Ravens and the Bengals. Are we concerned? Are we not? Josh Dobbs, CJ Stroud, MVP. It will be debated, and we will guess the lines for week 11. It will be a fantastic podcast. Let's rock. There is, I don't know why this is on the screen here. Let me get it off. Okay, here we go. That beginning to the podcast, equal to the beginning of the NFL day today, which forced us. I feel like at the beginning and the end of the day, we had our eyes peeled back. We were forced to watch some of the most reprehensible football on planet Earth. Wake up at 6:30 in the morning to watch on the West Coast to watch the Patriots die, and then had to stay up late to watch Zach Wilson get beat by Aiden O'Connell. Truly a blessing. Oh, let's start with this though. The Ravens and the Bengals, who are meeting on Thursday night, both end up losing down to the wire games as large favorites, both close to a touchdown favorites. And so we'll start with that, Brad and Arjun. More concern for the Ravens or the Bengals? Brad, we'll start with you.
I'll go with Bengals. Look, I know we trust Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just need the horses. And like their defense, by most metrics right now for the full season, is not particularly good. They've shown up against the Bills, they've shown up in other areas, but allowing Houston throughout the game, both to run the ball and throw the ball. This wasn't just a CJ Stroud game. Devin Singletary was like 6 yards a clip the entire game. So, and then on top of that, Trey Hendrickson. If you saw the video, it's a fluke, weird injury. A guy rolls into him like 10 seconds after the play, but it looks like he tweaked his knee pretty good. He's probably the best player on that unit. So they just have less margin for error now, sitting at 5-4, and they might not have their best defensive player for a week or two. I have more concern for them for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I do think for the most part, Baltimore outplayed Cleveland. It's obviously bad when you give up a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Like you don't want that to happen. But the fact of the matter is, like, they did build up a 14-point lead versus the Bengals, who were basically, after the initial touchdown, they were trailing for most of the game. And I think someone had this tweet that we talked about, like, in our group chat. But like the Bengals have now blown like four. So the Ravens have lost 7 games in the last 2 seasons with Lamar, and in those 7 games, they've had at least 75% win probability. So at one point, they've controlled, or at every point in this loss with Lamar starting, they've controlled the game from a win probability standpoint. And in 5 of those 7 games, they've had a 90% win probability. So yeah, like choking away games isn't great, but the fact of the matter is they did get to that point to have that 90% win probability. And I think that carries more signal than the Bengals playing from behind for pretty much the entire game. So I would be a little bit more concerned with the Bengals from that standpoint.
I'm actually more concerned with the Ravens, and here's why. I think the Bengals have worked really, really hard to get their season back on the tracks. And that game that they played against the Bills was an extremely emotional and hard-fought game, and they came out of it really banged up. I'm frankly surprised they played Jamar Chase in this game today, playing the Ravens on Thursday, which is a much bigger game for them than it is the Ravens. The Bengals need to win that game. And so I was expecting a letdown spot here for the Ravens. And then on top of that, the Texans offense is legitimate. There is nothing about the Browns offense that is legitimate. And you were gifted 7 points to start the game. Deshaun Watson and his bum ass self gave you 7 points to start the game, and you still couldn't close them out. To me, that is more concerning, especially because you don't have the kind of circumstance, the situation. Additionally, no T. Higgins. T. Higgins obviously is a really important part of that offense. Not having him in this game having Jamar Chase at a little bit less than 100%. So I'm more concerned with the Ravens just because you got to put that game away. The Bengals were kind of playing from behind, and even though that they were leading for part of the first half, the Texans were much more efficient, I thought, through the first quarter of that game, right? And they probably should have been leading already. So I just I don't know. The Texans, I think, are a legitimate team, and especially a legitimate offense. I just don't think that the Browns are. Now, their defense is absolutely, phenomenal, but we talk about good offense beating good defense all the time, and that's what I would have expected from the Ravens. So I'm a little bit more concerned with the Ravens. I'm not overly concerned with either of them, and obviously we're going to see them on Thursday night here. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let's get to the next topic, though, which is the Houston Texans have a quarterback here in CJ Stroud, who I feel like I need to fill out one of those apology forms too, because I thought he was going to stink this year. I thought he was going to be under pressure. But I underestimated the powers of Bobby Slowick, PFF Bobby, and the Houston Texans offense has been phenomenal. So CJ Stroud, maybe in the MVP contest, given what this year looks like. Other teams that are out there as well that are kind of hanging around, and what we're going to do is a little buy or sell. So we've got the Texans, we've got the Josh Dobbs led Vikings, we've got the Gardner Minshew led Colts, and was there one other team that we had in this list? Remind me.
Raiders.
Which one?
Raiders.
That was a
Raiders.
joke. The
Yes.
Raiders are serious answer.
I don't know if that's serious. We could throw them in there. Are you buying these teams as legitimate playoff contenders? What I mean by that is like they can make it in the playoffs, and you'd actually be somewhat concerned about them if you were playing them in the playoffs. Brad, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I also want to have some quick breaking news. The Houston Texans, the Las Vegas Raiders, they smoked a cigar for Tommy DeVito. Yes, it was about Josh McDaniels. I get that. They are sparking up cigars again after beating Zach Wilson.
No.
I think they should do it after every game. It's like
No.
I really don't want to be like this. Like players have fun, do whatever you want. It's just to me, it's objectively hilarious. Anyway, so do I think that they're going to continue to spark up stogies all the way through the playoffs? No, I do not. The Houston thing to me is actually very legitimate because they are 5-4 now with a 6-3 Jacksonville that they've already beaten in Jacksonville. I want to say that first matchup was. So maybe it was at home, but regardless, it was a sound 37-17 victory. And the thing with them is I thought Derek Stingley, there were a couple early plays where you saw the kind of the rust, but I thought he came into his own and played really, really well. The Texans are missing Nico Collins in this game, Jimmy Ward for this game. Noah Brown had like 200 yards. Like CJ Stroud is elevating everyone around him. And also this team can continue to get healthier and play better on both sides of the football. Some of their free agent additions, like Sheldon Rankins went nuclear today. I don't know about winning playoff games, but you guys know how I'm super duper high on the Jags. I'm not going to overreact to one game, but I mean, the AFC South, it's within a game, and they already have the head-to-head advantage. Maybe they find a way to, and their schedule ahead, the Texans is very easy. They could be leading this division in 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I would buy the Texans as a playoff team. I mean, I think in a single game elimination setting, like, you don't want to completely count out teams with good to elite quarterbacks. By our betting tools, like if you go to our power rankings page on PFF, the Texans actually have the second easiest schedule going forward. So like Brad said, I mean, a playoff push is definitely in the cards. A divisional push is in the cards, which, I think we were all pretty high on the Jags, and I think the Jags still come out with that division just because more experience all across the board. But I think this Texans team is legit, and I think PFF Bobby, like CJ Stroud putting up that performance against Louis Anarumo on the road without Nico Collins, that is a very impressive performance. And I think also like they showed their ability to run the ball today, which they came into this game being one of the worst rushing teams by, most metrics, EPA, success rate, yards per carry. And then today they averaged a 0.02 EPA per rush and a 36% success rate running the ball. I mean, Devin Singletary damn near ran for 150 yards. So I think it was good that they showed that multiplicity And I think that will carry them a long way in games where Stroud, might have some rookie struggles and they can lean on the run game behind a solid offensive line when they're pretty healthy.
I really want to buy the Colts. And the reason I want to buy the Colts is I think they probably won the head coaching, I don't know what you want to call it, lottery this offseason. All credit to DeMeco Ryans, who I think is fantastic. I think the offensive coordinator has a lot to do with what we're seeing in Houston. But I think Shane Steichen is doing maybe more with less in Indianapolis. Really like what their offense looks like. I just can't buy them because as much as I love Gardner Minshew, friend of the podcast, I just can't buy him as someone that I think has a chance in the playoffs. The Texans, to me, do have a chance in the playoffs, and the reason is that they could score 40. And I don't think any of these teams have a defense that isn't going to get shredded ultimately when you get to the playoffs, and so you need to have an offense that can score 40. The Vikings are a really interesting one to me because Josh Dobbs is a dual threat. He's making some throws. They don't have Justin Jefferson back. When they do, they have a very good set of weapons. If their offensive line is healthy, they are legitimately a good offensive line. Brian Flores is, I think, an above average mind on the defensive side. And Kevin O'Connell has proven to be really solid. So let's look at the NFC right now. You obviously have the Eagles, Lions, and Niners at the top. You've got the Cowboys who, are probably not going to win their division, but will have some kind of, some poor team is going to have to play them and they're going to have to face them on the road and they're going to get their doors beaten off. Although right now it looks like they're shaping up to play the Niners in the first round, which would be kind of funny. But the Vikings are sitting there, and I think it's interesting. The Vikings are in the 7th slot right now. The teams behind them are the Bucks, the Commanders, the Falcons, the Packers. I mean, none of those teams are very good. So I am buying the Vikings and the Josh Dobbs story, as crazy as it sounds. I think they have a legitimate shot, not just to make the playoffs, but I think if they're healthy in the playoffs, I don't think they're the easiest out on planet Earth. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Vikings?
I'm with you 100%. I mean, the last 2 weeks, they also beat teams that might come into the wild card conversation, Atlanta and New Orleans. Whatever team doesn't win the NFC South of those two, I know, as sad as it sounds, probably will be their main competition for a wild card. But yeah, I think it's interesting. You look, Kirk Cousins is a good thrower of the football, have been playing phenomenally well. Kevin O'Connell has talked about the benefits and what you can add to your playbook with a mobile quarterback and the things that you can open up and do differently with a guy that is able to maneuver. He's always trying to kind of like walked on eggshells when he talked about it, because obviously the guy he was working with did not have those abilities whatsoever, but he now does have that. And Dobbs a bunch of times today would pick up key third downs, or obviously the touchdown scamper was awesome. Like, look, are they going to like make a deep run? Probably not. But if they're the 5 seed going into New Orleans, they just beat them today. And Dobbs has been there for 10 days. So yeah, they are a team that I think could win in the wild card round of the NFC playoffs for sure.
Who's coach of the year right now? I think this is a good question. Who's your coach of the year right now, Brad?
I see the highlighted comment. I do think it is between DeMeco Ryans, Dan Campbell, and Mike McDaniel. But I love Steichen as well. I just know he's going to get it because they're not going to be there like record wise and all that. But he should certainly be in the conversation. But yeah, DeMeco, Dan, and Mike McDaniel.
I have DeMeco and Campbell up there. I actually have Kevin O'Connell above Mike McDaniel. As impressive as it is to coordinate an offense that has Tua playing like an MVP candidate, I think it's more impressive that Kevin O'Connell is 6-4, 6-3, with Joshua Dobbs playing quarterback. Rattling off 2 straight wins as underdogs, without your best player. Now the Vikings are 5-0 without Justin Jefferson. That is absurd. At points he was missing his offensive line. They barely devoted any resources to the defense, and Brian Flores has them playing at a pretty high level. But I still think it's Dan Campbell. The way the Lions have been playing, they have a great offense. His 4th down decisions have been amazing. His game management is top tier. So the fact that they're near the top of the NFC and have a chance to finish as the 1 seed, I think is worthy of being coach of the year at this point.
Yeah, it's funny because Kevin O'Connell, each of these three guys has been super impressive in different ways, but I feel like Dan Campbell has been through the different layers that those other guys are going through and has defeated them all. It's like Dan Campbell like deserves this as like a achievement award for what he's done during his time in Detroit. So what am I talking about? Kevin O'Connell is doing something really incredible. His team was dead in the water. Everyone wrote them off. His best player got injured. His second best player got injured. And yet he has pulled them together. And that is incredibly impressive. Dan Campbell easily could have had the same thing happen in Detroit. He's pulled that thing together. They're obviously dominating right now. You look at what D'Amico Ryans is doing, which is take a team that everyone thought was devoid of talent, did not have the ability to compete, and has got them to believe in themselves. Very similar to what Dan Campbell has done. Dan Campbell deserves this award. Dan Campbell today went for 4th and 5. He ran the ball on 4th and 5 because the look dictated it, and they picked it up. He then picked up 2 more on that drive. It's like you're playing a guy in poker, and you're totally on tilt. The guy doesn't make a wrong move. He just reads your mind every single time. It's like playing Phil Ivey in poker, I feel like right now. Like, never thought I would make a comparison between Dan Campbell and Phil Ivey. That's probably the highest level of praise I can give Dan Campbell, but it has to be Dan Campbell because that team is just operating on all cylinders. I think the other guy's impressive, but Dan Campbell, I feel like, has done that in different ways throughout his time in Detroit.
I mean, his on-field decision-making this year is clearly number one in the NFL. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, he's doing this even with a pick they wasted on a running back in the first half.
Hey, Jameer's been balling for a month now.
Jameer was
for my fantasy team
great today.
Yeah, he did.
Looked awesome today. As a Jameer Gibbs fantasy owner, I was pleased to see that. Any last words for the New England Patriots? Died today, looking ahead to next season. Who's their coach next season? Is it Bill Belichick? And do they take Drake May or Caleb Williams? What do we think?
Here's a little take for you. I'll fire off. Their head coach next year is Mike Vrabel. That's what I'll throw out there. I'll say they trade Bill Belichick. I don't know. Let's go to Washington. Obviously, also Riverboat Ron is the opposite of Dan Campbell and just refuses to pick up dollars on the ground. Yep. Anyway, let's say Josh Harris swoops in, trades for Bill Belichick. That's why he got all his extra draft picks. The Montez Sweat pick is going to go to the Patriots for Bill Belichick. And then Tennessee, they're losing. I think there was kind of a disconnect of like, hey, the GM kind of wants to tear things down, which I think was the correct decision. Mm-hmm. Vrabel wants to squeeze this thing for all it's worth and see if they can make the playoffs one more time and pay Ryan Tannehill $27 million to throw 2 touchdowns and get benched. That's my bold prediction there. Then Drake May, I guess. Drake May.
Does Josh McDaniels come with Mike Vrabel though?
It's a fair question. Dealer's choice. That's up to you.
An offensive assistant.
Vrabel's hired much better. Vrabel's track record of OC has been much stronger than Josh McDaniels to this point.
That's been good. I think so. I'll say this. I think the Patriots are a very attractive destination. A couple of reasons. The ownership, the strength of ownership there, I think goes a long way. And you think about who they'll be competing with for some of these top candidates. And I think about the Chargers, even though obviously Brandon Staley is still there. I think expectation is they'll be looking for someone new. You have Justin Herbert there, who's phenomenal. But you don't have a fervent fan base. You don't have what should I say, like really well-respected owner, an owner that has proven to build winning franchises for whatever the hell that means. Obviously, Kraft got Brady, which helps quite a bit. But I do think that is very compelling. If they have a top 1 or 2 pick, I think they have a chance at getting a Ben Johnson. And so that's actually going to be the one that I'm going to go with. I think they end up getting a top 1 or 2 pick somehow, some way. And if they do, I think they can lure Ben Johnson because then he gets a rookie quarterback. He gets to start kind of fresh and has a really, really Patriots fan base is amazing. So that'll be my call. Arjun, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the Ben Johnson one. I mean, I think Vrabel would be really cool also.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I do think they fire Belichick if they just continue to trend downwards and end up with a top 3 pick. I really could not tell. Like, I just have this streaky feeling it's going to be Josh McDaniels, and he's going to come back to New England and be hired as a head coach again. But that's probably a really stupid statement. So
Here's an interesting question.
Never
Though.
know.
Are you firing Belichick because this year is going poorly? I mean, this team stinks. This team is terrible. So are you if you're firing Bill Belichick, to me, it's saying, I don't want this guy to rebuild my team. That's what it's saying. So I'm curious, do you guys think, like, let's put age aside. Let's say Bill Belichick says, I want to rebuild this from scratch, Robert Kraft. Let me do it. What do you guys say to that if you're Robert Kraft?
I think that's the disconnect is that I think Bill has been trying to be competitive like every year since post 2019 and probably still wants to go that path. And so I don't think he's going to get fired. I think it'll be a classic mutual parting of ways. We agree that we're going in different directions, yada, yada, buttoned up McKinsey written statement. But that I don't. I'd rather have a young guy that's like, hey, we're going to start this whole thing over, usher in a new era. Like, we're going to get Meek Mill in the locker room because he's buddies with Robert Kraft and like appeal to Gen Z. I'm half kidding, but I'm half not. I think I've had conversations with people about Mike McDaniel and what he has done, the perception of how you have to run a team. And Belichick gets away with it because he's Belichick and players are going to fall in line. But I do think teams are realizing like you still want to be tough and hold your guys accountable, but you need to kind of like appeal to what the players are right now. Which I don't know. I don't know if Bill is the right guy to do that, at 72 years old.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think the way that this season has gone, to me, is not necessarily the issue. It's the fact that we got to this point. I think Bill has held on a little bit too long, tried to do this, I'm smart enough to kind of get it figured out, and been a bit stubborn, I guess, is the right take. And, you got to know when to hold him and know when to fold him. And I think you should have folded him before this point. And so I agree. I think you need to rebuild. Now, do I think that Belichick could make smart decisions to help you get there? Yes. I think what you're looking to do, though, is to find the next Bill Belichick, to find the next guy that's going to take you and 15 years from now is going to be, a multi-time Super Bowl winner. And Bill Belichick's not going to coach for 15 more years. So I think you got to make the decision to move on now, and you're probably not going to get a better draft pick going forward. All right. Anything that we missed? I guess Niners and Cowboys both had dominating wins today. Did that change any of your guys' opinion about either team, given the competition that they faced?
It was a good win for the Niners. We knew they were good. We should have seen that coming, but that was a very good win because they ran the ball on Jacksonville, which no one could do. Like they beat them in areas where they also were strong. It was just a blowout. So,
yeah, that's fair. I don't know, Arjun, are you like how close are the Cowboys to those elite NFC teams in your mind?
I still think they're a tier below the Eagles and 49ers. Like they're probably in a tier with themselves and the Lions at this point. Just because, yeah, they know how to blow out bad teams at home. We still haven't seen them beat Philly when Jalen Hurts is playing. And they're, Dak's always due for a privileged game or two every single year. So I haven't seen enough, I think, when they play good opponents to where I feel confident about them. But I do think like blowing out bad opponents is a signal that they are a pretty good team.
Yeah, there's nothing about beating Tommy DeVito, which is going to change my opinion of a team. There's just no way that can ever happen. They give 17 points to Tommy DeVito. Maybe I should be worried about their defense. I will say this. I think people are – no one's right about Dak Prescott, to borrow a phrase from our friend Eric Eager. There are people that are going to way overreact to his stat lines, which are inflated because they play terrible teams. And at the same time, Dak Prescott is a easily top 10 quarterback. And I think you could make a case that he's 5th or 6th in the league in terms of how he's playing the game of football. He had a not great pick today, but especially if he starts using his legs, I do think that he is playing better than some people have given him credit for. I think the problem is that if you have him against a Jalen Hurts, you have him against a 49ers team, I just don't think that there's any history that says he's going to play well enough to win the game. Played really well against the Eagles, but I don't know. I still have it pretty clear that the Niners and Eagles are like in a different tier.
Agreed. The people want us to guess those lines.
Yes, let's do it. Let's guess the lines. All right. As we do every single week, we guess the lines. You can play along yourself as well by joining the Discord and submitting your guesses as well. We'll put the aggregate guesses of the printing press up on the screen as well, so you can see those in contrast to our picks. Let me get this on the screen here. How did we do this past week with our early bets? I have a feeling I did well looking at what I was at earlier.
Yeah, you killed it. You killed it. I went 2-2. I'm letting you guys catch up. I think you were like 5-1, George.
That's what I had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Brad,
Arjun also had a good week.
Brad, are you counting teaser legs as 1 or 2 losses?
Well, true. I had 3 teaser legs. I guess that's a fair question. I think I said on the pod, like, I didn't find a second pairing, so I just have 1 teaser. You can give me as many losses as you'd like. But yeah. 2, and a third leg.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
You got to tease it with something for it to count.
So you have 3 teaser legs also. So now we're getting into really murky territories here.
Yeah. We'll be more clear with that.
Yeah, I fucked that up. That's my bad.
Locks of the week, undefeated week with the locks of the week, which was good to see. All right, we are on to week 11. Thursday night football is a great game. It is Cincinnati and Baltimore. Brad, what'd you make this?
Yep. Ravens -3.
Oh, I went Ravens -5.
Interesting. Let's see here. Let me pull mine up. I had Ravens by 3. And let's see. I think we're going to be a little short. It is Ravens by 3.5 at FanDuel, 4 at Circa, 4 at Bookmaker. Man, Bet 365 has a 3.5. Let's go 3.5.
So real quick, the reason why I talk about Trey Hendrickson, who I don't think is going to play for Cincy, but I don't think Ronnie Stanley or Marlon Humphrey are going to play for the Baltimore Ravens either.
Arjun, what are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Ravens here, getting them at home. I'm not too worried about, honestly, I'm not too worried about either of the injuries. We've seen this Ravens offense kind of operate fine with Patrick McCarry at left tackle. He's obviously a downgrade, but I don't think it's that much of a downgrade, especially the way Lamar's been playing. And then week 2, the Ravens go into Cincy as 3.5-point dogs without Marlon Humphrey and a healthy T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And they pretty much locked down Burrow for most of the game until Burrow made like a last-ditch attempt. Now, Burrow has been throwing it deeper down the field, which could spell some issues for the Ravens. But I think Mike McDonald is again, probably the best defensive coordinator in the league right now. And I think this Bengals offense has kind of hit a couple of bumps in the road that I think scare me a little bit, or would scare me if I was backing them. So I think, just the Ravens defense will have a nice bounce back game at home, short week. So I think it will tend to favor the defense. And then, Bengals also without Trey Hendrickson, I don't think they're going to have a pass rush at all against Lamar.
Brad, what do you think?
I'm staying away. I think they will have some semblance of a pass rush. The interior has been playing much better with BJ Hill and DJ Reader and those guys the last couple of weeks. As good as Linderbaum has looked. I'm staying away. Excited for the game. First good Thursday in a while. So that's all we need.
I'm doing it. I'm gonna take the Bengals here. I think this week was a predictable letdown spot for all of the reasons that you would expect. And I'll take the better quarterback getting points in a must-win game. The Bengals have to win this game to keep themselves in the division. And in the AFC, man, the entire division is playing well. So, look, I think the The injury to Stanley is definitely a big deal, but the injury to Marlon Humphrey is the bigger deal in my opinion. If you get T Higgins back now, what is your sense on T Higgins, Brad?
I think, like you talked about, there was an element of like, don't push it because there's a divisional Thursday game. Hamstrings are never good, so I wouldn't even be super confident. Was it a Wednesday or Thursday practice hamstring? There's no guarantee he can go a week later, but I would imagine he tries to play, and because they say, look, we have a 10-day rest after this game. But like we talked about, they don't have margin for error. Like they need to win these games, so I bet he goes to a degree.
I think he does too. This is going to be a great game. Al Michaels gets his Super Bowl. I think this is the last good Thursday night game. So I hope it lives up to expectations. Tennessee and Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, Brad.
Jags -6.5.
Also in Jags -6.5.
I have the Jags by 5.5. And let's see what it is here. I'm down a screen, so people are going to be.
I got 6.5 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 6.5 at Circa, 6 at FanDuel, but juiced a little bit. We'll call it 6.5. I'll just get this out of the way. I'm a little short, but I'm not going to take the Fighting Will Levis Titans. I did today, and left a little to be desired.
We all did. It did not go great. Yeah. I'll ride the bandwagon. I'll stick with the Jags. Not going to overreact to one game.
Ooh.
I'm gonna lay off, but I'm just gonna say the Titans' offensive line is complete garbage, and
Yeah, correct.
I need to look at the Bucks' time to pressure tomorrow because the Bucks were in Levis's face like every single snap in like under 2.5 seconds. So I'm gonna lay off this game.
Which says a lot because I looked at both pressure, just overall, they were like 27th, but then also 2.5 seconds or less versus over. The Bucks were also a bottom 5 pass rush unit. So that says how bad the Titans' offensive line is.
Yeah, it was not pretty. Chargers and Packers. This one in Green Bay.
I had Packers +3.5.
I went Packers +3.
I had the Packers getting 2.5. This one couldn't make it all the way to 3. I don't know. They looked decent today. Chargers gave up everything to the Lions as we expected. Let's see. It is 3.5 at Bookmaker. Circa's at 3. FanDuel's at 3. We'll call it 3. I don't think I can bring myself to bet on the Bengals, but I am close. I really want to.
The Packers?
The Packers. Especially with, Keenan Allen got banged up in that game. I don't know. The Chargers blowing out or winning by more than a field goal on the road against a not bottom 3 team is kind of hard for me to see, but I'm going to lay off.
Yeah, I'm laying off as well.
I wish we had weather. It's obviously very far out, and it's Green Bay, so it's certainly at risk for a November Green Bay game. But 44 points, two bad defenses, no Jair today. I don't know if he plays. I'll leave it alone for now and circle back later in the week.
We do not need to tempt an over with Jordan Love as a starting quarterback, Brad.
Look, the Chargers. I guess they played well against Zach Wilson and Tyson Bagent, so they can play good against awful quarterbacks. Fair enough. We'll circle back.
New York Giants and Washington Commanders in Washington, Brad.
I think Kami's laying 9.5, which might be stupid, but anyway.
I went Commies -9.
I could not go that far. I went Commies by 7.5.
Holy shit. DraftKings is 10.
Oh my God.
I thought I was going to be way off.
Oh my goodness. Circa's a 10.
I
FanDuel's
cannot believe I'm
yeah.
short on that.
Jesus Christ.
I thought it was going to be George. I thought yours was going to be dead on.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I'm going to take Tommy DeVito, aren't I?
You got to do what you got to do.
Damn it.
Total of 37, spread of 10.
I'm taking him. I can't. Oh, my God. That is brutal.
That's incredible.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Wow. I thought I was going to be so far beyond it, and I'm short. I'm laying off because I just don't even know what to do right now.
Wow.
Oh.
I mean, if this were Matt Barkley, like, wouldn't you feel great about this number?
Yes. Yes. If it was a quarterback that I'd seen complete a forward pass beyond the line of scrimmage, I would feel good about it. Actually,
Yeah.
DeVito got dinged up. It might be Matt Barkley at this point.
It could be. That is a hope.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the CLV you're betting on is getting Barkley. It'll go down to 8, I think, if you get Matt Barkley.
I want to watch 0 plays of this game.
Wow.
Sam
Our boy Sammy,
Howell-
a 10-point favorite. Let's celebrate. Hey, double-digit favorite, our boy Sammy. Let's
Yeah.
clap it up for
Sam
our guy.
Howell is a 10-point favorite. What could go wrong?
Judah's like, yeah, it checks out. Yeah, that sounds about right.
What could go wrong? This is going to be. Yeah. What could go wrong? Arjun, you doing anything with this?
Laying off.
All right, smart man. Vegas and Miami. Now, if Vegas beats Miami, they can smoke cigars. They can get a yacht and smoke cigars in South Beach if they want.
Correct.
Brad,
Yeah.
Would you?
I wouldn't make fun of that in any way, shape, or form. They can get some Cubans and go hang out in Brickell. I went Miami by 10.5.
I went Miami. Where did I write this down? I went Miami minus 10.5 as well.
I went 13.5. You're telling me that Aiden O'Connell is going to keep. What is our assessment of Aiden O'Connell thus far?
I'm becoming it's a small sample. I think I'm a Bo Hardigree guy. Like, look, they're going to run the ball a ton, and then Aiden O'Connell, because of the Chargers game, they said, okay, you're going to either throw the ball on a slant or a screen pass or whatever, like a
Deep
bubble, like immediately, or take shots, and it kind of works.
Let me ask you this: if Las Vegas scores fewer than 20 points against the Dolphins, do they cover?
No.
That's my assessment as well. It is. I guess there's not a ton of 9.5 is what I'm seeing.
10 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't
If
see.
we go 9.5, that's meaningful.
I see 9.5 at FanDuel. I'm taking.
Me too.
I'm sorry, beating Zach Wilson with that performance today. It's like.
The feel good story for Antonio Piercing to come to an end. Mike McDaniel off a bye. I love the Lions or Dolphins in this spot.
To be serious for a second, like you saw a little bit of the coaching stuff too, where like Antonio Pierce challenged a turnover and basically lost the timeout because you can't challenge a turnover. Like the little things like that are going to matter. And now he's playing a great coach and a great team off a bye at home. Anyway, I'm playing Miami as well.
Yeah, and Jalen Ramsey now fully back there. Like I think the Miami defense, this is where the Miami defense gets right against AOC. AOC having a porn stash, by the way, is the greatest thing.
Shirt you said the looks like Favre, plays like Favre. It's the greatest shirt in the history of cotton. It's the best thing ever.
I'll buy that shirt.
Yeah, me too.
Cardinals and Kyler Murray are going to Houston to play CJ Stroud, CJ MVP. By the way, we were in our internal Slack, and Brad was trying to make the case that CJ Stroud is an MVP candidate. By the way, we in Circus Survivor, we did not have the Bengals. I did not have the Bengals in my entry. So I am rooting hard for the Texans. My buddy texted me. I had texted him earlier, and I said, the Texans stink. I think this was after they failed to score in the red zone for the second time. The Texans are now up 10. I get a text from my buddy that says, "Oh, do they?" Literally within 15 seconds, CJ Stroud makes the worst throw not named Mac Jones of the day, which should have been a pick six.
Stretch. That's a
Uh,
stretch.
and ended up not being a pick six. But redeemed himself, totally redeemed himself. Had it not been for that pass, I think I probably could have got on board. He has been phenomenal and was phenomenal in this game, especially without Nico Collins. Brad, what do you make this?
I went Texans -6.
I went Texans -5.
I have the Texans by 4.5. Does feel a little short. Let's see here. We've got Houston by 5.5. That 1 point isn't super meaningful. Look, I thought for his first game back, Kyler looked pretty good. The fact that his mobility didn't seem like in any way he was hesitant at all. Marquise Hollywood Brown didn't really show up in the game, but Trey McBride sure did. I think CJ Stroud and the Texans are awesome. I'm not sure they're ready to cover by a touchdown against another real team, is my take. I'm going to lay off on this because I haven't seen enough of Kyler Murray and the Cardinals yet, but by midweek, I may be singing a different tune.
I agree with you. I can't get over Monty Ossenfort, the GM. Dude, I mean, BJ Ojolari had 2 sacks today and was creating pressure the entire game. Garrett Williams, our third-round corner, had a couple pass breakups in this game. I could not be higher on the 2024 Cardinals. If they drop in one of these receivers that we're watching light up college football every single weekend, anyway, conversation for a different day. But if their season win total next year is 7-8 range, hammer.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay off this game.
Yeah, I can't. I really want to do it. Really, Coleridge
is
really
tempting. It's a lot of points.
Spread, man.
No, I'm with you. I see what. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something that doesn't make you feel super good about a team that beats a combination of Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke by a point. That's not super encouraging. Chicago and Detroit. Is Justin Fields back for this game? That's what I priced him as.
I did too, and I really think so, but who knows? I was confident before. Now I have no idea, but I think so. I also did it with him in mind, and I went Lions by 9.5.
I crossed 10. I went Lions -11.
I was the same. I went 10.5. Let's see, the sounding wisdom of the printing press had it at 9.7. I think this one's interesting. I felt like I could have been way off. It could have been Detroit by 13.5. It is 10 at Circa, 9.5 at FanDuel. So we'll call it 9.5.
Yeah, flat 9 at DraftKings. Also, this might be the first week of the entire year where I'm more favorable towards the Bears than you guys are on against the Lions.
Clearly. This is tricky here. The Lions are certainly a team that can pull away, and I'm not overly concerned about their defense because the Chargers and Herbert are certainly capable of putting up points. But it did worry me a little bit how much they let Keenan Allen get loose. Can the Bears do some of that? I don't know. Arjun, I'm curious. You were with me in going over 10. Are you going to bet them?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions here. I know Bears kind of have the rest factor, but I mean, the Lions offense is just so good. They're all healthy now at this point. They were basically firing on all cylinders. The interesting thing, though, I didn't even realize it, but the Bears are a really good run defense this year. They're second in rush EPA allowed, and they're first in rushing success rate allowed. That is very impressive. So I don't think the Lions are going to run for 200 or 180 yards like they did today. But we also know the Lions can beat you in multiple ways. They can win with Jared Goff throwing for 275 yards, and I think that's probably the most likely outcome. So yeah, I think this is a game, in Detroit playoff run. It's going to be loud, big atmosphere. They're going to run up the score. I don't have that much faith in the Bears offense with or without Justin Fields. And I think the Lions defense is better than what they put on the field today. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Lions in this spot.
Yeah, I do. I do like it. I'm going to lay off. And the reason I'm going to lay off is I've always been a bit of a Justin Fields truther. And you're not supposed to coach your bets. But I do think watching Tyson Bagent, watching our guy Teabag, if you combine a little bit of the quick game, the ability to like get rid of the ball a little more quickly that Teabag has, with the fact that Justin Fields is a superhuman athlete, like I do think there's a situation where the Bears are a cover machine, not necessarily a winning machine, but a cover machine, especially backdoor covers. So I'm laying off with that big number.
Yeah, I feel you.
By the way, who does Detroit have the following week?
That's the thing. I wrote this down. They're hosting the Packers on Thanksgiving.
That's right. It is Thanksgiving.
And that's a great shout. I wanted to mention that. I don't think we talked about the others yet. Oh, we did. So it's Washington, Dallas, and San Fran, Seattle are the three, and then Green Bay at Detroit. So that's one reason why I didn't want to bet Detroit, because I hate that they have the short turnaround to Thursday.
Yeah, looking ahead. That is going to be a very what do you guys think the spread of that is?
Big.
Detroit at home, early morning, early game.
Right, 12:30. Yeah.
That cross 10?
Well, I guess if the Bears don't, then that rest advantage, it probably could. Probably the same. Depends what happens this weekend, but yeah, probably could.
Depends what happens in Green Bay. I thought Green Bay, you needed to see something coming out of a bye from LaFleur and Love. I didn't think it was terrible from them today. So I'm not ready to say that Green Bay is a live dog in Detroit on Thanksgiving, but I do think it's an interesting little bit of a look ahead spot for Detroit. Pittsburgh and Cleveland. In Cleveland.
Browns by a field goal.
Arjun, you're muted.
And Browns minus 3.5. My bad.
I have the Browns by 4.5. And I didn't even give them credit for or extra credit because of their win here. So FanDuel's at 4, Circa's at 3.5. I don't know why I don't see any DraftKings lines.
3.5.
3.5. We'll call it 3.5. Oh man, this is another one. I do now. Someone in the chat, Rico, brought up a good point. Deshaun Watson has played well in the second half of the last couple of games. Has graded well in those games. To cover a 3.5 point spread, I do think you need to play decently to start the game. You obviously can't throw a pick six. But if you remember the first time these two met, Pittsburgh ended up winning despite having negative yards in the fourth quarter or something.
Correct.
It was like truly, truly remarkable. So I like Cleveland in this spot. I'm going to take them. I think this is a terrible matchup. I cannot emphasize this enough. A terrible matchup for Pittsburgh. Okay. Because of their offensive tackles, because what Myles Garrett can do, and because of how bad Kenny Pickett is. So I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns here.
The only thing scaring me away, and I want to check in on it, the Browns were down their 3 top tackles today, which I think goes to show how even more impressive what they did coming from behind and winning that game. But even though they've proved me wrong the entire season, I think the Steelers' edge rushers are a lot better than the Baltimore edge rushers, and they might be able to take more advantage of those tackles not playing, even if it is just one in DeJuan Jones, the rookie by himself. It's still not a great situation. So I'm laying off because that gives me a little bit of concern. But in theory, Cleveland should win this game fairly comfortably, but we all know they won't.
I still have PTSD from week 2, so I'm not.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was pretty rough. All right, this one we had at 3.8. Okay. Next, we have the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys got the Giants and the Panthers back-to-back weeks. What a gift. Okay, next on Get Up. Are the Cowboys the most dominant defense we've ever seen? Up next on Get Up in hour 3 is Dak Prescott, the front runner for MVP. They're going to talk about the Cowboys for literally all 3 hours of Get Up. It's going to be so fantastic. I can't wait. What'd you make this spread, Brad?
I had Cowboys laying 12.5.
I had Cowboys minus 12.
Oh my God. Did you guys watch the Carolina Panthers?
It went back to my Thanksgiving thing, George. I was going to do 13.5, maybe even 14, and then I reined it back in a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. Have you watched Bryce Young play football?
Horrendous. I, as a Bears fan, felt bad for Carolina Panthers fans watching that game, and I was watching my team also set the game of football back 50 years, and I still had empathy for the other side. So fair point as well.
We come back now live to Mike Greenberg, sweating at the desk. We're in hour 4. We've extended an extra hour for Mike T to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to hear the same Jerry Jones soundbite for the 17th time. I have the Carolina Panthers getting 16.5 at home.
Oh man.
I have a feeling you're going to be long, but hey, who knows?
It is 11. 10.5 at FanDuel. We'll call it 10.5.
You bet the Cowboys minus 15.5 last week, and it was the biggest no sweat bet of the year. So,
and I'm doing it again here. This certainly will not come back to bite me.
I'm doing it too.
Man, it's a great point that you bring up. So they have the commies at home on Thanksgiving. But man, Bryce Young's the worst quarterback in the NFL right now.
Starting quarterback.
Yeah.
There's worse players.
Yeah, I'm obviously talking about starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think he's the worst.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah, probably. And the Cowboys, to the rest thing and all that, they didn't play the fourth quarter today, so they did get some some rest. Yeah,
they had a bye, but it's a good point. There will be a little bit of, especially knowing they've got that tight turnaround, everyone's looking ahead to it. I don't know. I'm betting it out of principle because I was so off on the spread, and I have to put my money where my mouth is, and putting it against Bryce Young's just a great place to be. But I do not feel great.
First half would be. I respect that you have to do it. Sorry to cut. What do you think of first half? Would you think it would be a full 7, even though it's 11, or would we get 6.5 on the first half spread? You think?
Ooh. If you get 6.5, that's delightful.
I might do that. Might do that then. First half.
See if we can find it. Yeah.
I mean,
it's not on DraftKings.
BetStamp is showing. It's probably wrong, but it's showing 4.5 first half, and then Sports Illustrated Sportsbook, because that's a thing, showing minus 120.
Wait, what was the number?
When do we get ESPN Bet powered by ESPN Analytics? When can we bet on their site?
Soon. We're gonna be limited early.
I need. You know what I need? I need hour 3 of Get Up talking about betting and the Cowboys at the same time.
The Jets topic for Greeny is dead now too. So
yeah, guys, I legitimately woke up 3 straight mornings and I thought they were replaying Get Up because every time they were talking about whether the Cowboys' missing link was a power back like Zeke, and I had to check. Like on YouTube TV where it's like you got to make sure that you press live to like get it to go live. Like I checked to make sure that I wasn't watching yesterday's show. That's how impressive it is. Tampa Bay, San Francisco. This one is in the Bay Area.
I did the same thing, 12.5.
I went minus 10.5.
I have 13.5. Not 13.4. 13.5. Let's see. This looks to be 11. A few 10.5s out there. Call it 11. So the Niners play Thanksgiving evening on NBC against Seattle. I believe that one is in Seattle.
Yep.
This is interesting because Tampa Bay, like, I feel like they're just going to get shredded by the Niners passing game. This is going to be tough to watch, in my opinion. And I think the question is, can Baker Mayfield score any points here? I didn't take a look at how the grades have ended up for Chase Young and Nick Bosa. The eye test told me that the Niners pass rush was pretty great today.
It was. They had a shared sack in the first quarter. It was pretty awesome. It was like old college teammates just meeting at the quarterback for a reunion. No, they were great. Armstead was great. He got a little bit dinged up, but I think he's fine. Hargrave had one of his best games as a Niner. The pass rush was just teeing off the whole day.
Yeah, this worries me. And Trent got out of there healthy.
Believe so.
Trent and Debo. I mean,
there was a great.
I was going to say the entire offense is healthy.
Yeah, all the guys that matter. There's like Aaron Banks, the guard, who has like a 40 grade, is out. But there was a phenomenal. They pulled Trent Williams. He was the lead blocker on like a counter run to the left. A DB just made a business decision and just ran out of bounds. Like Trent was coming at him with a head of steam, and he just was like, "I'm going to get in front of him, so like it looks like I'm trying, and then I'm just going to run out of bounds." It was amazing.
By the way, the word on the street is that tomorrow, tomorrow being Tuesday, because it's technically Monday now, ESPN Bet will be live.
Oh.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Is it in New York? Commenters, let us know if it's in New York.
It's not, because
I wonder what the limits are going to be, especially if those.
It's just the Barstool Sportsbook rebranded. Right?
Oh, it's the pen book. Yeah.
So you're gonna get limited like right away, basically.
So it's gonna be absolute garbage, but it's gonna have a new green mint logo. Because if you're gonna spend $2 billion to license the ESPN logo, you need to change it. That's next on Get Up. All right. Seattle and Los Angeles, the Rams, the Ramley at home.
I had the Ramley at home plus 3.5.
I had Ramley +2, pending Stafford, obviously.
Yes, I assume Stafford is back, and I have them getting 2.5 at home. I couldn't make this. I don't know, man. I watched Jeans struggle to beat Sammy Howell today. I didn't think it was pretty. I don't think anything about the Seahawks have been pretty for a while. And I'm a Seahawks believer. It is 2.5. Interesting teaser leg opportunity. Haven't had many today.
It's true. There's been almost none. I thought James was okay. There are a couple misses, but
it's a struggle. It's a struggle. Every Seahawks game is a struggle.
Well, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But he completed 66% of passes for 369 yards and 2 tuds. Anyway. I'm laying off. I'm clearly off on this one, so I'm just gonna stay away.
I like this as a teaser leg, George. I think we'll get a couple of teaser opportunities coming up, but get Stafford at 8.5. I'm not too worried about the Seahawks pass rush, even though they had like 4 sacks today, 3 or 4 sacks. Stafford off a bye, McVay off a bye. I think they'll have some stuff cooked up, and I think you should be able to cover 8 or +8.
Yeah, I do like this. So nothing that's really Wong teasable, but we'll see what comes here. So Jets, Bills. Bills obviously play tonight, I should say, against the Denver Broncos. We haven't seen them yet. And the Jets, by all accounts, will trot Zach Wilson out there again in a clown outfit to play in this game.
I had the Bills -7.5.
Yeah, I had this at -6 prior to the Raiders game, and then I changed it to -7.
I know Zach Wilson sucks. I get that. Defense still very, very good. A terrible matchup for the Bills, in my opinion. The way that these corners can match up, and the Bills are not an incredibly powerful run game. So I don't know if they can really run the Jets out of this. So I did not cross 7. I have this at just 5.5. I don't know. The Bills worry me. I think that the Broncos are a live dog tonight.
Tomorrow night. That's a good point. Or tonight, yeah.
Let's see. I see not much out there. I guess there's a 7 at FanDuel.
DraftKings is 6.5, but -120 on the Bills side.
Oh, it's 7.
I had 7 and then watched the Jets tonight and decided to add the hook.
Yeah. I'm going to lay off, just not really knowing what the Bills are going to look like. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting spot here.
The Jets are dead to me. Like I've talked myself into the Jets. I bet them last week or tonight against the Raiders. And that was obviously a loss. So I'm not gonna take the Bills. You're right. It's an overreaction. But anyway, Jets are dead to me.
I do. I mean, is this a teaser leg here? Tease this down to 1.
Yeah, I think I'd do that. I have a feeling I have a feeling the next game could also be a teaser leg, but
that's true.
Yeah. All right, let's get to that game. Josh Dobbs marches the Vikings into Denver, Colorado to play the Broncos.
I had Denver -1.5.
Denver -2.
I have Denver -1.5. Let's see. Has to be 1.5 or 2.5. There's not many choices. Yeah. It is 1.5.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I do love the Minnesota Vikings teased out to +7.5 against the Denver Broncos.
Yep, joining you on that.
Same here. I think we also I think this is a hedge. We don't know Justin Jefferson's status line. I don't know what his status is, but I just have a feeling if he does play, we're getting phenomenal value here.
Yeah, I like this regardless of whether Jefferson.
Yeah, that's also fair.
By the way, I just left the television on whatever channel it is here, and there's a show called George to the Rescue that's on, and it's like a 50-year-old guy that's just walking around fixing up houses. Phenomenal. Philly, Kansas City, Monday Night Football. Brad?
The most confident spread ever, Kansas City Chiefs -2.5. There's no way that's wrong.
There's no way this is wrong.
There's no way that's wrong.
Chiefs -2.5.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no chance in hell that this is anything else. I will say there's some juice towards the 2.5. But I don't think you're getting this to 3. Can't imagine. What's the total on this? And I'm curious, do you guys like this as a teaser leg for Philly, like assuming it's a fairly high?
It's 38, which is in today's NFL pretty high. I was going to bring it up. I mean, both teams off a bye, like 15 days rest, although Travis is in Argentina, at T-Swift concerts for what that's worth.
What kind of a grade does he receive? She had a nice little, I don't know if you saw the replay.
The lyric where she tweaked it?
Yeah, she tweaked the lyric, and she had a nice little sprint up to him after the show.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a hug and a kiss. Like, she really turned the Jets on, 4.3 speed. Was impressive. I don't know. Should we welcome back to Get Up. Is Travis Kelce's head in the game? Is he mentally focused enough? If they lose this game, he's not mentally focused enough.
You'll hear that for sure. You'll hear that. He's jet lagged from Argentina.
Yep, a lot of jet lag.
Yeah.
Probably not eating healthily out there. He probably didn't get a full 8 hours of sleep on his 8 sleep mattress. I do like the
Did you bring travel AG1s, George? What do you think?
Oh no, I brought mine. Gonna keep me alive.
Interesting thing here is like the total, with respect to how we're talking to the teaser, like I think it is going to be a high scoring game. I still don't really believe in this Eagles secondary much.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the Chiefs defense a lot, but I think Philly's going to find a way to move the ball, both on the ground and through the air. Chiefs run defense actually has been pretty bad, which could be by design, but I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one.
I would lean under here on the total. So I do like the teaser. And if you forced me to bet one side of this, I think Eagles money line would be interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the Chiefs figure something out over the bye week, but it's basically Travis Kelce and a bunch of bums out there. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Rashee Rice runs more than 10 routes in this game, okay, and is amazing on all 10 of them or 11 of them, and they blow the doors off. But Kansas City is playing every single game without the threat of explosive plays, like at all. The Eagles, on the other hand, do have that. Now, their secondary is concerning, but it's only concerning if you have receivers that can separate. Which receivers?
That is true. That is true.
I think the one thing, I mean, I didn't hear you guys bring it up. Dallas Goedert not going to be there for this game.
Good shout.
Eagles don't really have a great third receiving option after those two, after Smith and AJ Brown. And yeah, I mean, Andy off a bye is basically like Andy off after week one Andy. So honestly, like I kind of like the Chiefs in this spot. Could come back to bite me, but I think you give them that.
What about Sirianni off a bye?
It doesn't hit the same. I don't have a big enough sample size. But with Pat,
you know what hasn't been hitting for me is Andy Reid coaching this year. That's what's not hitting, right? Like, yeah, I get that narrative, and I know all the numbers are astounding, especially the ATS numbers. But what about instead of those, who's going to make better decisions in this game coming off of a bye? Nick Sirianni or Andy Reid? Nick Sirianni.
The decisions are like, we know who's going to make the better decisions regardless of the bye or not. I think it's play calling that I think Andy could have something cooked up.
He'll have the good plays for this one. It'll be Andy, okay. Andy, not Drew. Shout out Dave.
I'm being promised good plays from Andy Reid this week. He recorded a couple extra State Farm commercials. Do you think Travis Kelce knows what those plays are, or does he get like a text about the plays while in Argentina? How does that work?
I think he just does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's the play for hey, MVS, here you run a 9 route just every single snap, and we'll pretend like you're part of the offense. And then
so it's only the plays where they do the merry-go-round in the backfield in the red zone before a gain of 2 yards. Those are the special plays. Okay.
That's the Matt Nagy package.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify.
Nagy package. Yeah.
If we go the whole season and the Kansas City offense still looks like garbage, are we writing a huge apology letter to Eric Bieniemy?
I mean, the commies, the juxtaposition with the commies is, although I cannot get over the target share for that team blows my mind.
It's so diluted. It's
unbelievable. It's like Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson were the leading receivers today by in receptions, receiving yards, targets, and then it was Byron Pringle. Byron Pringle is having a breakout in Washington this season.
Incredible.
Anyway, I have Terry. If you couldn't tell.
By the way, apparently Kansas City is 8th in explosive plays, which I'm not. Is that passing and running? Are we judging those differently? I'm not sure. What I mean is explosive plays coming on throws down the football field. So 20 plus yards down the field. But that is interesting. I mean, yes, on yards after catch, they do still manage to create some larger plays, but it's really Kelsey. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, our definition where it's 15 for a reception. I'm sure they have a 1,020-yard grabs. How many 40+ yard plays do they have? Probably not very many.
0. Do they have any? I
They
know
probably have a
Kadarius Toney has a couple of drops. Anyways, that was our show. We will write up our favorite bets, and they will be live on pff.com and the PFF app. If you're listening to this on a Monday morning, we appreciate you. If you stayed up live late with us, we appreciate you as always. Love you all. And make sure you watch Get Up tomorrow so you can hear them talk about the Cowboys. We'll see you on Wednesday night. Peace.